And so we let people know, like, just pretend I'm still here,
Okay.
and then we'll catch up if like the message or my combo has been lost somewhere along the way. Hello everyone. We made it podcast. We are back here today with a lovely guest, Sarah, um, who we will get to talking a little bit more with. But hello, Sarah.
Hi, guys.
And off the top, we're just going to mention a couple things. We still have our giveaway going on. So we're giving away two lovely books, one from a previous guest and frequent listener. The book is called Eternus. It's by Leroy Akiki, and A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. And we're giving these away as part of our 100th episode giveaway. So yeah, look into Instagram to jump in on that contest. Yeah, we've had a bunch of entrants in the last week, so I'm like super jazzed. Yeah, and so we want to jump right in and talk with Sarah. She was just before we got on, starting to tell us all about where she's been and where she's going, and so we're so excited to continue that here and share that all with you guys. So yeah, um, Sarah, you where to start? You have done so much.
Yeah.
Business owner, parent, like all these wonderful titles, world traveler, very educated. Yeah, where does this all
Yeah.
begin?
So I originally, so my husband's military,
Yes.
and we were posted to Petawawa. We were supposed to come back. So this was probably back, oh gosh, 28, around 2018, we were supposed to be coming back, or 2019, to the Petawawa area. And we ended up getting told that we were going to England. And it was a little bug was kind of put in my ear at the time that I wanted to get into like the world of medical aesthetics. Um, but then I found out we were going to England. So I was like, kibosh, where I guess I'm not starting my business venture because we're going to be on the other side of the
Just
world.
yet. Yeah.
So I came back and I feel like it's a very intimidating industry in the sense that like I didn't know how I was going to fit in because I guess I don't watch a lot of, the Real Housewives, or I don't watch, those types of shows. I'm more of like a nerd at heart. So
Yeah.
trying
And
to
your
get
background is nursing, correct?
yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm a
Okay.
registered nurse. When we got back from the UK, I started back at the little hospital that I started my career off kind of in, and
Yeah.
was working in their emergency department and on their unit, medicine unit, casually. And then I ended up sliding into a job where I was basically it was like a clinical kind of like instructor, but also the middleman between management and the frontline staff.
Uh-huh.
And honestly, after the pandemic, like healthcare just kind of imploded.
Yeah.
And
A lot of
I
people
really,
left, I think. Is that what you
yeah,
saw?
so
Yeah.
so many people were leaving, so many people were burnt out. And I was becoming like one of those people where I was waking up, going to my job every day, and just like not, it wasn't what it used to be. And I made the decision finally, like when I was waking up and not happy to go into work. And I
Yeah.
could see that it was like, it was affecting me. It was affecting, my family life. It was affecting my relationship with my husband. It was affecting, my kids. Like
Mm-hmm.
my mental health was just like so poor, and I wasn't getting treated very well at the nursing home that I was at. And I
Yeah.
was working Monday to Friday, like 9, sometimes till 11:30 at night, because so many staff were calling in, and I'd end up having to go work on the floor. Um, and it was just a very, very, very toxic work environment, to the point that I ended up actually getting COVID, and I had to be off. And there's certain protocols that get put in place,
Yes.
public health guidelines,
Yes.
and I wasn't supposed to go back into work. And my employer was trying to make me go back into work with a positive test. And
Fuck.
yeah, and we're
And you're
working
like, I
with like
can't
very,
consciously do this.
I'm like, we're working with the most vulnerable people. Like, how
Yeah.
many deaths were there in long-term care over the course
Yeah.
of the pandemic. So I basically put my foot down and told her that I wasn't coming in. I sent her public health guidelines. We were back and forth, kind of like she was basically like, uh, the home could have been reported essentially,
Right.
Yeah.
based off
Yeah.
of like her actions. And I said to my husband, I was just like, you know what, I think I want to finally go into medical aesthetics. I'd signed up for the course. It was
Yeah.
in January, and I knew that they weren't going to give me the Friday off. I knew that when I got back into work after, the period of time, it's like the 10 days I had to wait,
Mm-hmm.
that they were not going to allow me to go do the course. I would have to be
Mm-hmm.
at work. So I said to Andrea, I was like, I think I'm just going to quit. I was so scared because I didn't have no job lined up. I
Yeah.
had
Right.
absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And he was just like, go for it. We'll be okay. If he didn't,
That is like, sorry, I liken this to a moment where like Jim and Pam in the office, like
yeah,
classic example of like unwavering support of your spouse. Like just that's beautiful, you know. You watch it, you're just like, yes, they're doing the right thing. Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, no, and honestly, he's been like one of my biggest support systems, like through
Awesome.
everything.
Yeah.
He probably knows just as much as like I do. Even medical aesthetics is like a specialty. So,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, kind of look at it as, they put us in the same group as like hairdressers or
Yes.
people who go get their nails done or a lash
Lashes.
tech.
Waxing.
My lash
Yeah,
lady had in her physical like space also had somebody come in and do like filler and stuff like that.
yeah,
This was a couple of years ago, but yeah, they kind of falls into an aesthetic sort of
yeah, it's like the beauty
career.
industry, right?
Yes,
So,
yes.
but in the same sense, like realistically, like these are like medical procedures that we're doing,
Mm-hmm.
on our own. So I took, and it's only a weekend course. And I just like did
Okay.
not feel prepared. After this weekend course, I was like, there is no way that I'm gonna start putting this
Stabbing
stuff into
people. Yeah.
yes. Like there is absolutely
But
no way. I
people
was like, I
do. Yes.
people do, and
Yes.
it's
Okay.
actually scary.
It's a little under. Ooh.
Sometimes I just like I really question people get out of school or they go to school and they're like, I'm just gonna, after I become a nurse, I'm just gonna start doing Botox. Like that's,
Okay.
and I think people don't realize like that you like my course alone just to do the course was like $5,500.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
so and that was a 2 day
That's an
course.
investment. Yeah.
Damn.
Yep. And then like all your startup costs, so your right down from like your syringes
Mhm.
to, your gauze pads to like you need everything, like a
You
little
need a
fridge.
space like I'm imagining you need some sort of a physical space. You could do it out of your house. Is that
So people do it out of their homes. I personally didn't want that only because I don't if something ever happens, to say if like and I've had like very very unhinged moments with some clients
okay?
where I would not want them to know where I live.
Okay.
So
Fair.
like
Oh
Yeah.
man, that's so
Yeah.
true.
like I don't want it if you're not happy with your treatment or your result or something, because it's a medical procedure, there's risks. I don't want
Yes.
you banging on my door and knowing where
Yes.
my kids live.
Knowing who
And
your kids are. Yeah. Yeah.
exactly, so I
Totally.
try to
Okay.
keep it separate, but
Yes.
I should also share my personal life with my clients over social media too, because it's a good opportunity for them to get to know like who I am as a person.
Builds trust.
Yeah, like I want, when you sit down in my chair, I want you to feel like we already know each other.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, so after the 2 day course, I was like, no, I need to take more courses. So then it was like I spent another probably about like 6 grand and just went head first into trying to get more focused on how I was gonna. And no one tells you the business side of it. There's not a
Yeah.
course. There's no course that says like you have to do this and this and this. So
Like
trying
the
to
true
To
figure.
get
definition of entrepreneur.
like is this in reference more to like how to get maybe registered, like how to
yeah,
Be
like even
legally operating as a business. Okay. Okay.
yeah, so the whole business side of it, like I could do all the nursing stuff, but
Yep.
the whole business side of it, like I had no
Different.
idea where to start.
Yeah.
And thank God my sister, she actually went to school for business administration. So I spent lots of nights with her
Thank you.
helping me set everything up,
Yes.
and get started on that. And then Andre, my husband's really great with numbers, so he is like he's not my accountant, but he helps
Next
like
best thing.
me. Yes, like he's the
Yeah.
next best thing. He helps me prepare everything like every month to send off to an accountant that I have now who does
Hmm.
everything.
Amazing.
Um, but honestly, like like numbers and stuff, I'm just like I'm not good with that kind of stuff. But I also don't want to
Fucking
get in
hate numbers.
trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I fucking
I don't
hate
want to.
Yeah.
numbers.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I never want to get in trouble, so I initially I started um injecting in a hair salon. And
Hmm.
I was actually injecting in a hair salon up here part-time, and then was also driving to Kingston, and I
Yeah.
had a part-time space in Kingston. So trying to build up my client base in both areas. I went to school in
So,
Kingston.
okay, I was gonna say, like, is this something you kind of like already had a connection there, and then it was just a matter of kind of booking your spots? I know, like, this isn't the same lane, but like tattoo artists sometimes do this where they'll do like a guest spot in a studio and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Is that
yeah. So it
okay?
it started it started off where I was only like booking, one day at a time. And as I got busier down in Kingston, I went part time down
Mm.
there. But I mean, even rent was crazy. It's like $1,100 for a part time space in Kingston. Plus, I was paying
Oh,
rent up here, and
plus
then not only
travel and
plus the travel and the wear and tear on the car. Now I only go once a month. It just makes
Okay.
more sense, especially for
Yeah.
like I was missing out too much with like my kids um
Yeah.
and it's nice that this job helps me, like what I'm doing right now gives me so much freedom, but it also like I feel like I was just go 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 for the first two
Hmm.
years where I was kind of losing sight of family life. um it's tough, it's a
Your
tough balance.
focus, yeah, I was gonna say, like, your focus has to be on building the business for a time, but then the mom side of you obviously is like, but how do I also add this in? And probably, like, did you feel that it was
It was like a
overwhelming in
tug.
that?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
it was for sure like a tug, and I really felt it the most because my oldest, she's 7 now, Toby. She's always been a mama's girl
Yeah.
and ended up becoming a daddy's girl
oh
because I was
no.
gone. I was
Fuck
like,
you, Andre.
"No." I was so mad. I was so mad.
oh man.
And so even with like when I was first, kind of building, I was in the hair salon and going to Kingston, and it was just like pretty wild. Then I started working casually because I feel like I can't say no. I'm like a yes person. I started
Yes.
working as a sexual health nurse down on the reserve that I grew up on. I'm indigenous, and it was very fulfilling, but again, like a little bit of a toxic work environment working for chief and council. So,
Oh
uh,
god.
like it was just it was so messy. Um, and what ended up happening was the same thing. Like they were wanting me to go down all the time. I was driving down like every Thursday. I ended up quitting like I was still working casually a little bit at the hospital, like quit that job, stayed. So now I'm doing like 5,000 different things, and I knew
Yeah.
something I had to give. So I quit actually, and I'm just doing medical aesthetics full time since June of last year.
Good for
So
you.
that's
That's awesome.
it's a huge accomplishment. But in all of those like first 2 years, like a little
Uh-huh.
me, right? Like I have imposter syndrome really
We all
bad.
do.
I think
Everyone does.
I think it's like, like, you're registered to do this, right? And yet there's part of you that's like, how is this even possible? Like, I don't know what that is in our brains that lets us believe that we aren't built and made
Y-
for anything that we
it's
accomplish.
one
Yeah.
thing. It is everyone else's voices. You're
Oh
Ah,
my God.
I
It's
think
that's what it
crazy.
is. Yeah.
Like,
everyone has imposter syndrome, and
Mm-hmm.
I've been reading a lot into this like weird space about just sort of understanding our position here in earth on earth, I guess. And
Yes.
it's weird, but more and more I'm coming to realize that, sorry if I'm yelling, um
No, no,
no,
this
you're
is good
good. You're
volume.
good.
Yeah.
anything your like your thoughts dictate everything.
Mm-hmm.
Every single aspect of your life is coming from your thoughts, and most
Mm-hmm.
of the negative thoughts aren't you at all. And that's when, in our earlier episodes, we said a lot like, you aren't your story,
Yep.
you aren't your past. And
Yep.
it's because we bring these things forward with us for some unknown reason, and
Yep.
we let them inform all the decisions we make. Man, i I worked with Andre for quite a while.
Yeah.
I was the opso for a year at our regiment, and it's a pretty big deal. It's a pretty big job,
Yeah.
and I felt like an imposter the whole year. If I could go back, oh my god, what a
Can you
difference it
imagine?
would make. But
Yeah.
the bottom line is no one should feel like an imposter, because why do you feel like an imposter? You're looking out there, you're seeing the landscape of medical aesthetics, and you're looking at all the other people in the space, and you're thinking, I'm not as good as them, I don't have as much business as them, I'm just starting, what right do I have to have any opinions on this kind of shit? And
Yeah,
honestly,
exactly.
all of that is garbage. No one asked you to think those things. None of them
Mm-hmm.
said any of that kind of stuff. It's like,
Nobody's saying that. Oh my God, never. Like, none of us say these bad things to each other. Where does this
It's
come from?
it,
so
it's
Yeah.
it's
true.
Yeah.
it's our subconscious talking to us, because like we talked about this with Sean. This space is really important to me right now. I've
Yeah.
been in therapy for over a year now, and it's really been helpful. And it's like all of these thoughts that you have are other people's voices from when you were growing up. All the people that
You
told you
heard
couldn't.
maybe one time somebody was like, some like grumpy adult you crossed wrongly, randomly in this one
Yeah.
place that you like maybe shouldn't, who knows, right? And it's just like one person who was like, you
But
suck. And
think
and
of
suddenly you're like, I suck.
think
What?
think
No.
think of every time when you're growing up and you have an idea of what you want to be and what you want to do, and
Okay.
how many times people are like, I remember this one instance, and this is not, I'm not slagging my parents. I read a book about finances and dividend reinvestment, and it's
Dividend
basically,
reinvestment. My brain just shut off. Sorry.
so when you own stocks,
Yeah.
you get paid out dividends. So
Okay.
it's basically after all the
Your
revenue,
royalties.
essentially.
Yeah.
And instead of getting that check paid out to you monthly, they just reinvest that, so you buy more stocks slowly, and eventually it grows. And I was like, you know what, by the time I'm 33, I could have $1 million. And I talked to too many of the wrong people, and it was just like, oh, that's not possible. Every time I talked about leaving the army for the last 10, 12 fucking years, which
Mm-hmm.
has been like the majority of my career,
Yeah,
uh
I was gonna say that's a big chunk of time.
no one ever tries to understand why you want to leave, where you're at, and what you want to do
Okay.
next. They just
Okay.
try, hey, you've got a job, you've got money, you've got paid vacation, why would you want to get rid of that stuff? And you're like, I don't think, like, we don't get any fucking support from anyone. So that's why we all
Okay.
have imposter syndrome. So
Okay.
Literally, literally. I
every time
feel
you look in the mirror, you should say, just look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm so fucking proud of you. I'm
Aw.
so
yeah,
proud of everything you've done,
Genuinely.
because
Yeah.
we don't
yeah.
we don't talk nicely to ourselves. No one else is going to talk nicely to us.
No, honestly, and I actually like I just did this a couple of weeks ago. So I went on Pinterest because
Yeah.
you can now make like collages. And so rather
Ooh.
than having like a vision board
Yes.
that I've have printed out, I actually made a kind of like a vision board, and it's my home screen on my phone.
Nice.
So
Smart.
yeah, so I see it all the time, but just like trying to say more kind things
Yeah.
like to myself, because it is like, especially in this industry, like it's very cutthroat, and sometimes you feel like like you're trying to claw your way to sit at tables when
Okay.
really like um those are probably not your people
Yeah.
if
Yeah, like why the fuck do
if
you want
you're
to spend time with them?
exactly. So I think Kingston initially I felt very supported, and it was going really well.
Mhm.
I actually had like to be in aesthetics, you need to have a medical director.
Yes.
So I cannot practice and do what I do without having a medical director in the background, basically who like oversees what I do and signs
Yes.
off.
Yes.
It's just like when you work in the hospital. Like
I was gonna
if
say,
I'm
is
in a
that
merge,
nursing is the same, right? Like
yeah,
you do your work, and then somebody else kind of higher up is like, yeah, approved, more or less.
yeah, and not even like I don't even want to make it seem like it's like higher up, like it's higher up because we're colleagues,
Yes. Okay.
right? Like we're colleagues, they're not my boss, and
There's
it's the
not like a
same with
hierarchy. Okay.
yeah. So it's the same with medical direction. They
Yes.
are under like their controlled acts and what they can do. They can provide those medical directing to nurses.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a partnership, but you hire a medical director. So initially, I had, I jived really well with this um, lady that I was introduced to by my trainer. And, over the years, I think like the money maybe got to her head, or I'm not really sure like what happened, but there was a
Something
kind of this
changed.
disconnect. Yeah,
Okay.
where I like, I really loved her as a person, but she was changing in the business and wasn't like meeting up to her expectations of the contract. So I ended up having to like get out of the contract early. I fired her and I hired a new medical director.
Okay.
But even that comes with a cost. So I
Of
was
course.
paying, I was now I'm paying close to like 2,000 a month just for my medical director alone.
Jeez.
Okay.
But
And
I
is
mean,
this somebody, is that your medical director somebody that can oversee you in Kingston and Petawawa, or is this like you need two on based on location?
so basically no. So it's just one medical director,
Okay.
and they essentially have access to your patient charts and
Yeah.
first interactions, first consultations before I'm poking needles in anyone's face. Like
Okay.
they're having a virtual consult with the client and myself,
Yes.
where I'm going over, the game plan of what we're gonna do,
Yes.
and whether they want to, put in their, advice
Mm-hmm.
is like another thing. I personally really like that my medical director does that, but she was seemed very unattainable. She's kind of like very well known, and she was my trainer when I
Mm-hmm.
first started.
Mm-hmm.
And she never had the capacity to take anyone on. So I kind of got in this like really shitty situation last fall, and she agreed to take me on. So here I am, like delved into this world of all
Mm.
these like really really inspiring men and women in the industry, and it's a completely different ball game. People are more supportive than I felt like I was competing with my previous medical director, and it was just a strange
That
thing that
kind of,
happened.
to me, that becomes over time toxic,
Yeah.
Yeah,
inevitably. Yeah.
Super
yeah,
distracting at a minimum.
Yeah.
yeah. And basically what like kind of ended the relationship was she was not providing me like training that had been asking for quite some time, and then was a little bit upset when I saw the training elsewhere, not based off of like the training itself, but who the training was with. So because they didn't like each other, which whatever. I don't
That's
try to
like
get
a
involved in
silly,
any of that
yeah,
stuff.
so
It's
silly.
not like I don't care what who you like or don't like. Like as it's none of my business. I've never
Mm-hmm.
really been that type of person to begin with. And honestly, like I either like you or I don't, and I'm not gonna pretend that I that I do like you. I'll be nice and I'll say
Yeah.
hi, but
Yeah.
uh I I find the industry is like it's really catty. It's a bunch of women, mostly women, working with one another.
Mm-hmm.
So trying to like navigate that as well. And I think just like being like this little res kid that like grew up not thinking that like I was ever gonna own my own clinic, or
Yeah.
it just like what if I can't like I can't even put into words like how I like feel about even that. Like it just seems wild to me. Um when I was in the hair salon, I knew I had to get out, and I was about to pop with my second baby.
Okay.
And the
Physically. Okay. Yeah.
yeah, and there was a space that came up. It looked like absolute shit. It used to be a dog grooming space. It was horrendous in there. but it was a space and it was going to
Mm-hmm.
be my own. So I went over. The price was like decent, but
Is
I was
this
going
in
to have to put a
Pembroke?
in Petawawa.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
so
yeah, yeah.
I'm actually like near like the I'm in the plaza where Moan's Vet is.
The
I'm at the end.
plaza. Why
Yeah,
can't
it's
I
like
picture the
Moan's.
plaza?
So there's Moan's Vet, and then there's the Beyond the Mat yoga studio, and I'm at the very end unit.
Oh.
This is
Yeah.
not where the bowling alley used to be. Like,
Yeah, so the like they're at the very end, there's like that huge plaza, but there's on Moan's, like on the actual like road, there's like a little
right.
set in
Okay.
plaza.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Oh,
Yeah. So
I
yeah, yeah, yeah.
honestly like you build it, they will come. I feel like is one of these things like that's a tried and true thing. Like I'm assuming now you have a client base
yes.
and they're coming for you for your services. Um, from the time you got that space, so you were about to have your second baby, yes?
Yeah. So
And so what
I
did that look like? Like you had a baby and then you were doing stuff right away. Like did you take any time off? What happened?
Oh my
no,
God.
no. So I went over. Actually, I didn't know that my the family that owns the building actually is from outside of the Ottawa area,
Okay.
and so he had called me to meet up, and my water broke. So I
Yay.
so
Perfect.
I
Yeah.
yeah. So I was
Perfect.
like or sorry, I started having contractions. So I messaged him back and I'm like, really sorry, I'm having contractions, and then they stopped. So that week they kind of like filtered out, and I wanted to have a home birth. As a nurse, even saying that like sounds crazy because I'm like, I always wanted to have my babies in the hospital because I just felt
Hmm.
like it was safer for some reason. But realistically, like especially
With a
with this
midwife.
time around, yeah, like with a
Yeah.
midwife, I wish more people would go with midwives because they're honestly phenomenal. On a
Yeah.
side note,
They're
um,
so overbooked, so I'm always like hesitant. I'm like, if you can get one, get one, but if you can't,
A regular
then
doctor
don't.
will
But
do.
like,
yeah,
yeah, you could go with the
yeah,
OB, but like you'll get I don't know, it feels like 5-star service with a
it
midwife
does.
every time.
It's
Yeah.
honestly, it's
Yeah.
amazing. So
So did you
well,
have a home birth?
so I did have a home birth. So I
Yay.
went over. It was like at the end of the week, contractions were like fine. I went and signed the papers, like the lease with the building owners,
Hmm.
and then the following week, I had my baby on the bathroom floor,
Yay.
and
Yay.
yeah, it was a
Congratulations.
With a home
pretty,
birth. I would have
yeah,
put my purse down there.
honestly, it happened so quick. Like I wouldn't have even had time to make it to the hospital, but
Yeah.
it was a wild experience. Andre was like, I can still see it. He's trying to fill up this like because I had a birthing pool. He's trying to
Yeah.
Totally.
fill
Yeah.
up this pool that we didn't even have set up. He had like this much water in it. He's trying to hang curtains because we didn't want our neighbors looking in the window.
And like
And I
watching, yeah.
and
And
I
then the
there
baby
were
was born.
and then the baby was born.
Oh
Yeah.
god.
So um, I took probably about 2 weeks. 2 weeks where I kind of just, stayed home and went back. I'm still working my sexual health job, so but I also was working on this heart health program. So I was doing virtual education sessions for community members on my reserve every Wednesday at 8. So I'm still doing all of these things with
Wow.
like breastfeeding my baby and like talking to people and after that, then Andre and I immediately went over and we started working on the clinic, and it took us from he gave me 2 months essentially. Very kind of him, but not really.
Kind of like a
He makes a
nurse.
lot of money off me anyways, the owner, but gave
Okay.
me 2 months to essentially like get the clinic ready without having to pay
Hmm.
any rent.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
yeah, so it was
Thank you.
honestly, so 2 months we were over there. I found this handyman he just kind of like fell in my lap and who could do framing. He started the framing and I was like, "Do you do drywall?" He's like, "No, but I can try." I was like, "Cool, I don't care.
Please.
Like,
Yeah.
just do what you can. Like, I'll pay you like whatever." So he started drywalling. My parents came up and my dad and his buddy put down the floor.
Yeah.
Uh, I was
my
over there
gosh.
with like a flashlight, like putting silicone everywhere. It was wild. I think Andre and I almost got a divorce when we did the floor in the bathroom over there. Like, oh my God, we were like
Testing all
yelling.
of the
Oh,
things. Yeah.
it was wild. I was like, how we've never had, like, we don't really get into massive fights, but like, I thought we were gonna kill each other, like trying to like it was like this peel and stick floor just in the meantime, and like we were
Mm-hmm.
grouting it, and it was the I 10 out of 10 never don't recommend anyone to do peel and stick floor, like
Okay.
it's dreadful.
Yes.
Um, but we got it all ready, and then I had my grand opening kind of later on in I think it was September or October.
Okay.
October I did my grand opening and like the ribbon cutting. So I've been in the space now for over a year,
Wow.
but we
That's
were
awesome.
over there and I had like Gigi, my little one, in like a carrier while we were like trying to do all of this stuff.
Yeah.
Another thing, Andre took a paternity leave so I could like focus on my business, which
That
like
is so supportive. Yeah. Amazing.
no, he is honestly like he's the bee's knees. So I cannot like I can't like thank him enough for like being here, but also it's like I'm kind of like I'm a little bit jealous, like a little bit mad. It's kind of I'm like upset with myself that I missed that part, but then have to remind myself like you had that time with your first baby, like he had the time with the second, and
With this.
honestly,
Yeah.
it's made him a better, I think, like dad and a better partner. Um,
I
He
did the
got to
same
because
like
thing.
really deep dive into
I
it.
had like 2 weeks with William, and I took 3 months with Olivia, and it's a big
Yeah.
difference. And
Yeah.
also
it's
the second kid too. Like as a dad, you're like, I don't know where I should be right now. I don't know what I should do. The second one
yeah.
comes along, and you're like, oh, I'll be back from the gym in a bit. I'll see you. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's helpful.
Yeah, yeah. No, he honestly like both of the girls love him to bits, and the Gigi's are she's pretty wild in comparison. Toby's like our angel baby. He's
Feral second child. That's what they
That's
call
a
him.
thing.
Yeah.
That's a
oh
real
Yeah. Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, my daughter's a
God.
fucking bitch. Yeah,
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 I'm like, what
I
is
love
wrong? Like,
Olivia so much that
yeah.
she is. Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
She's
I'm
fucking
And
like,
it would
crazy.
be hard to live with.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, you're literally like she's just like a little fucking asshole all the time. She's just
The
like doing the
Tasmanian
craziest
devil.
things.
Yeah.
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 And honestly, like I'm second child, and I said to my mom, I'm like, was I like this when I was little? And she was like, no. She was like, you're a good kid. So
But do you
I'm
have a
like, well,
younger sibling too?
no, I don't. But
Oh,
but my sister, she was the wild one. Like she was the one that snuck out of the windows at night and ran
Oh.
away. And so I think there was also always this pressure, like, and again, like I'm not slagging my parents off or anything, but there was always this pressure I found. Like my sister, like growing up, she had her kids, she had a teen pregnancy. I grew
Okay.
up fast because I ended up like raising like my nephew in grade
Okay.
6,
Yeah.
and she's just like she's been through a lot. She's so resilient, and she's like a successful business owner as well. Like now
Right.
today,
Yeah.
they own their own construction company, and
Amazing.
her and her partner build homes. So, but she was always that kind of like that kid who just like never listened, never. She's just so intelligent, but
She's
just
just like
like
a pure
just
rebel.
crazy. Yeah,
yeah,
she's just like a
Yeah.
yeah,
rebel. So growing up, there was like this pressure for me always to be like, don't be like your sister. You have to do this. You
Perform.
have to, yeah. Like
yeah.
Yeah.
if I came home and I had like a B on my report card, my dad would
Oh.
lose his shit. So like,
He's like, you're
I,
the good one.
yeah. Yeah, and honestly,
Oh
like for a
no.
while we butt heads. Like I never really got along with my dad like for the longest time because
Wow.
he always like was just like expecting not just like the bare minimum but like more. And
More, yeah.
I literally I couldn't give any more. So I think like going back to what you were saying, you were talking about like imposter syndrome and like those little things and not ever feeling like good enough for I honestly think like I'm in therapy too. And
Yes.
like we
Yes,
always
we I
deep
don't want to
dive.
say we all are, but I think
I
millennials as a whole, we're very good at like seeking help. Yeah.
Yeah, and I honestly think like a lot of that is just like those little voices in my head of like trying to like to be a perfectionist and always give things my
Meet
all and then really letting
others'
my
expectations.
yeah, and then I end up letting myself down if I'm like not performing to like the ability that I think I should, but also like I need to take a step back and realize like I live this crazy life now. Like I'm going to Paris and going to like conferences and like interacting with like these world renowned like surgeons and
Mm-hmm.
like aesthetic providers and like speaking with them and I never pictured if you went back 7 years and you said to me that this was going to be my life, I would never have believed you. Like,
So
Wow.
I want to say something. A, you mentioned this earlier, and I'm going to give mad props to Andre. Um, you said he's so supportive. I worked with Andre directly. We were hand in hand for a whole year,
Mm-hmm.
and he was the difference maker in my life that year.
Oh, wow.
If he wasn't there, I
yeah.
would have fucking imploded.
Oh,
Do you know what I mean? He is everything that I am not. You know what I mean? Like he everything that I said
he was
he
your
was so
work
good at.
wife for that time.
Oh yeah, we spent so
Yeah.
much time together, and honestly, like I've only seen him truly mad I think once or twice,
Ooh.
and that's
yeah.
because his he doesn't really change outwardly a whole lot. He just like
Okay.
turns to stone a bit, and
Okay.
he's already a quiet person, and then just
yeah.
conversation with him when he's pissed, it's like oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Um,
Uh-oh.
so
Uh-oh.
big, fucking Andre, you're one of a kind. I love you
he
so much,
is.
and I'm so grateful that you have him to help you with all this shit. Um, you know, it ties into the imposter syndrome thing you're talking about. I never would have imagined myself talking to these people, whatever. Man, what separates you from them? Nothing.
Honestly,
They're
nothing.
just people.
No.
They're
If
You
they're
all
know,
just
people
people,
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Christopher Walken said it perfectly. I'm just
Uh-oh.
like you. I put my pants on one leg at a time. And it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter if you make platinum records after the fact, but we're all just trying our best and people get to where they're at, but it doesn't make them better than us. Doesn't make them less than us. We're
Mm-hmm.
all just, you know what I mean? I wish people could I think more people would probably pursue the things they're interested in more if they didn't have to chase this idea of feeling worthy
The
to do it
approval, maybe.
or yeah or
Yeah.
to yeah to have permission to do something and
Permission. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, that's a big one. Yeah.
and
Yeah,
to
I
to,
agree.
to that end like we don't challenge our thoughts, we just
Enough
think at
or at
all
all.
we get so consumed by the day to day,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't just take a step back and go, you have the thoughts and then you get the moods and you have the feelings and you're like, man, I'm letting whatever it is just direct my life instead of taking a step back and going, man, I wonder why I'm thinking this way. Is it true? Is it
Right.
is it helpful? Is it positive? And we think, I know I'm this is coming from a point of view where I feel like like you, Sarah, like you, Jenna, I'm sure, like most of us in our generation, you feel like you have to earn your right to be able to do something
Yeah.
Yeah.
instead of just take the space that's yours, because
Yes.
there's no permission to be had. There's no rubber stamp. It really truly is whatever the fuck you want, go get it. It's yours.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need
Yeah.
permission. And if we
There's
challenge our
a
thoughts a bit more, we'd see that more clearly, I think.
Honestly, I think like even in like I kind of like I struggle with this for on social media because it's a huge part of
it's a machine of
what I
business.
do.
Yeah.
Yes. And so for the longest time I was like caught in this um like weird thing because I have always been on social media.
Mm-hmm.
And so when like obviously when TikTok came out and like my TikTok is personal. Like it's nothing to do with my business. It's nothing. It was just like for fun. But I like posted a lot of funny stuff. And then when I got into business, it was like I like forgot I was trying to be like this professional person who's like just posting about, like facts and
Serious.
like try to be serious. And I was trying
Yeah.
to be like other people in the industry rather than just like being myself.
What you thought they
And
wanted to see, kind
yeah,
of thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
exactly. And then when I finally just said, you know what? Like I was talking to another another colleague actually in the industry. She's from out east, and we were just chatting, and she was like, "Post the funny stuff. Like, just do it." She's like, "Who cares?" She's like, "No one's going to care. Just like just be yourself and start posting." And honestly, that's when my business started taking off.
Okay.
So
Allowing
the
yourself to be authentic.
yes, like the
Yeah.
more authentic I was and the more people actually got to know me as a person,
Yes.
I my bookings, like even like I was looking at my schedule this week, and like I'm completely booked
Yes.
all week. And the
Sorry,
amount of
folks.
people
Next week for Sarah.
yeah, the more people come in and they're like, "I saw your reel and you made me laugh really hard and that's why I'm here." But also I feel like I'm type A in my business too, so
Okay. But that is
I
such a
just
valuable piece of advice I think you just shared is like authenticity, I think speaks to people. Clearly it speaks to your clientele. Um and I think like just from the sounds of like where your business has transitioned overall, like your connections with people uh speak authentically too, because you were saying like you've moved into this place where you're medical director, for example, and you jive way better, and it probably seems like a more natural or organic connection. And so
yes.
to me it just sounds like you're seeking those things and you're speaking those things in the world, like in your social media as well, in your presence. And so that's what you're going to get back, right? Like you're getting that same feedback loop that you're putting out. I think that's so important.
So I
Yeah,
gotta, sorry,
go ahead.
I gotta cut in and add to this.
Yes.
Synchronicity,
Okay.
big thing I'm exploring.
Yes.
Uh,
Like
I
that
want the
big uh we talked about this with Sean. There was like that huge web
yeah, Indra's web kind of
where like
thing.
everything, the interconnection, yeah, synchronicity
So
is part of that. Yeah.
I, one example, I want the podcast to be. I want us to be doing what you're doing with our podcast. I want it to be our full time job. I want it to succeed. That's what I want.
Mm-hmm.
I was like I mentioned before the show, messing around with the lighting and the camera, trying to figure out how to get a better image, whatever, just to put
Best
out
picture.
some good crisp content.
Yeah.
Um, through the worst Donald Trump impression. Uh, but I decided to pull the trigger on a new camera last night at 11, drinking a whiskey, watching Rogue Heroes on
Did you
Prime.
make a drunk camera purchase on the internet last night?
It was like
Questionably
loose,
sober.
but
Yeah.
not drunk. The fucking camera showed up this morning.
Yeah.
Shut up.
I was like, there's a
What?
fucking like grade A weapons class blizzard coming through. I have no idea how this happened. But also, I started reading this book. I'm sure we've all heard of Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
It's a classic. Yeah.
So there's a book that like sort of begat that one by him. It's called the 16 Laws of Success or something like that. It's 11
Ooh.
fucking 100 pages.
Oh my
1,100 pages.
God.
But one of the things that he's talking about very early on in the book is your personality and
Okay.
positive thinking and all this kind of stuff. And he talks
Yes.
about people. A lot of this book is case studied through people like Dale Carnegie. I want to say Rockefeller, Thomas Edison, like all these like turn of the 1900 century
Yeah.
type people who are successful in the business world. So a lot of sales type stuff. He's talking about selling insurance. He goes 99 people out of every 100 who purchase life insurance policies do not know what is in their policies, and what seems more startling, do not seem to care. What they really purchase is the pleasing personality of some man or woman who knows the value of cultivating such a personality. Your business in life, or at least the most important part of it, is to achieve blah 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 blah. You just said it.
Yeah.
Like being who you are, being authentic, is, and now your business is growing
Exploding. Yeah.
because instead of trying to figure out and
What are other
reverse,
people doing?
yeah,
And
this
what can
Yeah.
work for
algorithm, you're like, you know
them?
what?
Yeah.
And I think about this with our show all the time.
Okay.
I'm like, are we having the right conversations with the right kind of people? Are we interacting with them the right way? And I'm like, no, stop. We're gonna
Why
do
are we
us,
analyzing this? Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the people who want to see our content are gonna come see our content,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
how we're gonna grow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think it's hard. Like it is really, it's really hard to like, because for a while there, like I feel like I was questioning myself, my
Mm-hmm.
worth, my, like is like even my like I'm like, what am I doing? Like
Did I
is
do all the right
did I
things? Yeah.
yeah, like did I just like quit a job, give up a pension, give up all of these things that like is going to affect my future, and like am I going to fail? Like do people even like me? Which is great. Like it's crazy how much pressure you put on yourself to like try to be these people that you're you're genuinely not,
Mm-hmm.
just to try to make an impression, to get your name out there.
Yeah.
And once you just like put everything on the burner, it was kind of like a fuck it moment for me, where I was like,
Okay.
I'm done. Like I'm just like done pretending to be this person that I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
And once I did that, it was just it's so much better. I love doing like I love being funny. I love laughing. And
Yes.
most of the time I find like clients and people who want to interact with you, that's what they enjoy. I've never
As
met a
well.
person
Yeah.
who says that they don't like to laugh.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Joy is, yeah, is universal. I think what you just described just made me think of like you freed yourself of the kind of like, we'll say like maybe not just the things that were maybe holding you back, but just like the expectations maybe you placed on yourself or you felt like other people had on you. It sounds like you kind of just like said no thanks to those things anymore.
and as a
And
yes person,
there you go. You
Oh,
said
that's
yes
so
to
true. You know
yourself.
what I love too? What that
yeah,
means is, you saying no means you're setting boundaries.
yeah,
Yeah.
And the really interesting thing about that is the people who
Boundaries are
are going to be
healthy.
upset when you set boundaries
Mm-hmm.
are the people who benefit from you not having boundaries.
Boundaries. Yeah.
And those aren't the
So like
people
when
you
you
want in
quit
your
that
life.
job where you were being pressured to go in while you
yeah.
had COVID is an exact example of that. That person didn't respect your boundaries. They didn't respect their own boundaries by the sounds of it. Like they had like almost like a law placed upon them that was like you can't have a worker that is infected with this disease
Coming into
potentially
work.
infect other people who are high risk, and they were willing to say never mind for the
Those
convenience of
people are fucking assholes because it makes
yeah
more work for
Honestly,
them. Yeah.
bad, in
honestly,
my opinion, bad management. But like we all have had bad managers and we're like, how did they end up here? Who knows?
yeah, and
Yeah.
I am also like, I like to look at myself as like a really kind person, but also like a little bit of pettiness like sometimes makes you feel good. And like
Yes,
sometimes I just
it's like you, I don't know, I don't want to say it's revenge, but it's like some light
yeah.
form of that where you're like vindicated. Yeah,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
feel like yes I wasn't wrong, god,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Sorry,
that
go on.
yeah, no, that manager actually, because she made me feel like I was just like this small. And
Really?
we graduated, a year apart from one another.
Okay.
So to like have someone who's the same age as you,
Yeah.
just
Fuck
like
you.
yeah, like just to be like such an asshole. And like also she had only ever worked in long-term care. Um and that was kind of it, like the gist of her like her nursing career. And like I've
Yep.
worked in so many different like parts of nursing, like
Yes.
from hospital to emerge to like community. I was like working at the Ronald McDonald House, like helping kids in Toronto. Like
Oh my gosh.
my background is like very extensive, and to have someone standing in front of you who like just has like no,
Narrow minded.
yeah,
You
Yeah.
just want to slap a bitch, you know?
yes,
Like, fuck you. Who are
like,
you?
yeah,
God
like
damn.
oh my
Fuck.
god. So I literally like this is probably because she blocked me on, like we were friends on Facebook, and then she
Perfect.
blocked me obviously after I quit.
Good.
Oh
And
boy.
because I put in my 2 weeks. I no, I didn't even put in my 2 weeks. I basically said, because I was still on my leave for like my COVID, and I just
Yeah.
sent them an email. And there was like also some racist things that came up, like in regards to Indigenous people that I had brought up to her and to the director that were never addressed. So in my like email when I left, I said, uh, I'm not giving you 2 weeks. Like I quit today and I'm never coming back.
Yeah.
Because
2 weeks
X,
is
Y,
such
and
a
Z.
joke too. Like
It's like you wouldn't give me 2 weeks. You'd be like, I'm gonna
you'd fire
fire
me
you. You're gonna
now.
be like,
Yeah.
yeah. So I was like, no, you know what? I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
And then so she blocked me on everything, but I can still see her from like my business Facebook. So
Okay.
and
Haha.
yeah, so so I was like, just wondering because we were at Toby's school had like a school event last summer, and Andre and I were there, and he was like, "Oh, I know him," or whatever, and it was her husband,
Okay. So
and
their
I was
kids go
like,
to the school
"So
same
our
school.
kids go to school, yeah, to school together," but I didn't know,
Small
like,
town life. Oh my God.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I show up and I see her, um, and I was like, "What?" Like she basically she looked. I don't know if it's like the job, like what she was doing. She had quit since that
Okay.
time. So
Okay.
she quit. So obviously it wasn't like a good, it
Fit
was a
for
good
her.
workplace for her either.
Yeah.
Um, but she quit her job and now she makes custom t-shirts. So
Nothing wrong with
like
that. I'm not
nothing
That's
wrong
shaming
a
with
it.
hard
that.
That's
pivot. Yeah.
entrepreneurial spirit is hard to cultivate.
Yes,
Good
it,
for
it
her.
so happy for her. But I am
Honestly,
literally
that speaks volumes though, because like if she wanted to do something creative like that and like get in not fashion, like it's not that,
yeah,
but like it's not nursing. So it's like she to
no,
me that says she was miserable. She wasn't doing what she felt fulfilled her. Maybe this does
exactly.
do that better. Like
It does do it better, but
get
like
out of here.
treat
Yeah.
people like that. My parents always like said this to me when I was little. I'm sure
Yes.
your parents said too. Like treat people the way you want to be treated.
Yes.
And like my mom was the
Some
type of
people
mom
didn't get
who
those messages though.
no, they
Yeah.
didn't. And like my mom was the type of mom that if I came home and I had said something because a kid was being, a dick to me or, not nice or making fun of me because I had a like, gap tooth and my red hair and I was the only white indigenous kid at the school of like all these brown
Oh,
children. Um, so if I went home, my mom would be like, "You don't know what's going on at home with them."
yeah.
And
Hurt people.
right,
It's so
so
true.
uh, to petty as like like I hope whatever she's doing now that she's doing great, but I wish like I don't
It
ever
probably
wish
felt good
any
though in that moment to be
felt good
like,
to see her
Two
be
things
like
can be
not,
true, right?
yeah,
Like you you
yes,
you
yeah,
you have no right to treat people this way, and
yes,
I'm glad you've learned a lesson.
yes.
yes,
And I
That's
hope
what it
you
is.
find what you're looking for.
Yeah.
yes.
Like you can have those two thoughts, and they can be very true. I
Mm-hmm.
want to share uh, two quotes that
Mm-hmm.
I think really apply to what you're saying, Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
One is from the book Dune,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm sure we've all heard of. I don't know if you've read it. If you haven't
You've
seen the
mentioned
movie,
it. Yeah.
watch the fucking movie.
Okay.
So
Okay.
good. Uh, but this one is I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. I hope Sarah didn't just quit. Uh-oh. Did you
No,
did
I,
did you
I I
hear
did
anything?
I did.
Okay, good. So
Yeah.
yeah, basically it's fear's the mind killer, fear's the little death that brings total obliteration. So like the idea that we build these obstacles in front of ourselves. We do it. We let it
Mm-hmm.
happen. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a bit more to that quote. I will face my fear, blah, 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 blah. And in the context of the book, it's actually really powerful. But what
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to share the most is I can't remember where I heard this quote from. But I think this is what you were talking about earlier when you were talking about what you were afraid of and what you were
Yes.
doing. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us.
Mm-hmm.
We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually,
Mhm.
who are you not to be? You're a child of God, blah, blah, blah. And it goes on and on and on. But
Mm-hmm.
I
I
love
think
that.
about that all the time. Like I figured, I'm just gonna be I'm a small town kid. I got paid for university education by joining the army, and now I'm just some dumb army guy, and I'm just gonna keep going on my life that way, right? But it's I think, we talk about the first episode of this show when we started 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, we published it, and now it's like, okay,
We have a podcast now.
we
We have a
like
podcast.
no one's
Yeah.
listening to it, but it's there. It's
Yeah,
out
it
there for the
exists.
world. And I worry often, like, social media is it's a paralyzer, because at least from my point of view, I think, what happens if we ever get, so successful that people are going to start questioning our ideas and our thoughts and stuff. And I'm like, oh man, I'm like, yeah, set boundaries, be yourself, have opinions. Like, you can't please everyone. Just, and why in the fucking world
would you?
would I let someone else get in the way of my success?
Yeah.
Our
Yeah.
success, your success. We give so much power to other people without even knowing
Yes.
it.
I was gonna say, like, it becomes this weird, like, self-fulfilling prophecy where that little voice in our mind that doesn't believe that we deserve this starts to create these scenarios almost subconsciously, where it's like you could let somebody take you, like, somebody else's opinion dictate what you're gonna do with your life, but, like, are you gonna let
Yeah.
them? And I feel
It's
like
it's like it's that fear. It's like just the fear of like not knowing what's gonna happen.
yeah.
You're
And I was gonna
comfortable
ask,
where you're at.
Yeah.
where did you get the audacity to not
Yeah.
audacity has a negative connotation, but like you had to, I'm certain you had to overcome that, and are still, obviously, you mentioned, but like what was that in that fuck you moment? Like, what do you think it was that like triggered this chain reaction, so to speak,
I
that
think it was because I was so
did
sick of showing up online, and like I knew deep down that it felt fake. It felt like like
produced?
yeah, like
Okay.
I just didn't feel like I was being like true to myself, and I
Mm-hmm.
was like hyper focusing. I'm pretty sure I have ADHD, but I was like hyper
We think we do
focusing.
too. Yeah.
Oh, I'm diagnosed. It's official.
Yeah. You're
Yeah.
diagnosed officially?
Oh yeah,
Were we
yeah,
talking
for
about
real.
this? Oh,
I don't know.
shit.
I tend not to
Yes,
divulge too
Colin.
much personal information.
I I feel like no, like I honestly I was talking a lot of my clients are coming in and there's like all we I feel like we were just like not diagnosed
I think
properly
most
and
of our generation are fucking ADHD.
actually
Yeah.
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
and when you look at like you look back like basically at when I was in school and I look at how um like our coping mechanisms were, crazy. Like we just like go out and drink all night and do whatever and like get up the next day
Yeah.
and go to school and that was like we coped because we had people who were like kind of going through the same things and like all of this like rush of like information that comes into us daily, I think like with social media and like
Mm-hmm.
family life and you're constantly like watching TV and like we're not built to like have all of this stuff coming at us.
We
And so
should
we're
not be
like,
getting this much information. No. Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
no. And now, like in our adult life, like our coping mechanisms that we once used back
No
then
longer
no
work.
longer serve
Yeah.
a purpose for us
Yeah.
now.
They
Totally.
do. They're just counterproductive. I can't
Right.
get fucking drunk every night.
Yeah.
And go out
Or
with my friends. Damn.
yeah, like it's just yeah, our coping mechanisms have changed. And I just find myself like I get to that point where it's like go, 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 go. And then you just like or you have so much on your plate that you have to do
Yeah.
and you can't.
Yeah.
Like you're just like I
Physically, there are
physically
not enough
Sarah,
hours. There are not enough. Yes. Oh,
you got to
okay.
read this book.
Dopamine
okay.
Nation.
Yeah,
Gonna
Okay.
this is what you're talking about. We're just
Yep.
Yeah.
chasing that fucking dopamine high.
That
Okay.
dopamine.
But also do yourself a favor and go get checked, because if you've got ADHD, I was terrified because I was like, I don't
But what
want to
if
put
I
a label
do?
on it.
Yeah.
I don't want to
Yeah.
go, oh, I'm neurodivergent. I'm special. But it's like legit. It's a legitimate fucking problem when
that
you don't
can you
process
get
shit the same way as other people.
can you get
Yeah.
resources easily once you are diagnosed? Is that the benefit
I think for me,
more
I'm
than
going to come
anything?
back into full frame.
Yeah, sorry.
I think for me,
Don't
it's
leave.
it's access to resources, but because I'm sure, like, how many times are you flipping through social media and you see a post about ADHD or autism or something, and you're like, that's a little close to home.
Seems
Yes.
familiar.
And
Yeah.
so you want to talk about validation, try to validate yourself. And that's a
Yeah.
hard fucking thing to do,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
because now I gotta, instead of sitting down feeling guilty about, Cassie and I went out Friday afternoon, did a bunch of shopping, whatever, and I was like, I'm fucking spent.
Yeah.
I'm just drained. And I was
Yeah.
like, we
Yeah.
didn't do anything, but like I don't
You're
know.
like, what happened? Yeah.
Your brain works differently, it processes information differently. You're always questioning yourself. You're
Yeah.
always critiquing yourself. And so I think for me, getting the diagnosis, it's not a like top-notch diagnosis. The army basically just went, yeah, you got it. I would
Mm-hmm.
like to go in depth because there's a bunch of different ways. It's a spectrum.
It
It
is.
Yes.
A bunch of different ways it presents itself. So to learn the interventions and to cope with it is different as well. But I think most importantly, it's just to recognize, you know, your individuality in that
Mm-hmm.
sense. So now you can start to shape your life to better suit who you are. You can
Mm-hmm.
shape your interactions. You can better understand. Like, I mean, I know personally, I I critique every interaction, especially at work, especially if there's like a hint of negativity to it. I'm
Okay.
like, what
Yeah.
did I do wrong? What did I say wrong? What could I have done better? Am I going to be in trouble? I'm 36 years
Am I
old.
gonna be in
Why the
trouble?
fuck?
Yes.
No one gets me in
Yes.
trouble anymore. Like, I don't get in trouble.
So
I'm an adult. And
I
sometimes
will.
things, yeah, sorry.
It's I see this at my work. One of my coworkers, like she'll get called in. They want her help for something, but we talk over a radio, and she'll be like, am I in trouble? And she's
Yeah.
like 45 and she's still like,
Oh
am I in
God.
trouble? And I was like, I understand this feeling though, because if somebody said that to me, they're like, Jenna, come into the office after. I'd be like, oh my God, I did something
Yeah.
What did
horrible.
I
You're just, yeah,
do?
you're
And I
doing,
never did. I know I didn't do anything horrible, right? Anyways, it's that same thing. Yeah.
Like
for
dread.
getting
Mm-hmm.
Pure
that.
dread.
I mean, yeah. Can we talk? My OC, when I was a subby at the
Can we
regiment,
talk?
he texted me the like the Friday or the Thursday of the Easter long weekend, and we were deploying to Wainwright that next Tuesday,
Oh,
the whole fucking regiment. And he goes, we have
we
to
need to
talk
talk.
on whatever. And I was
Okay.
like, you can't just drop this in my lap and walk away. I ended up calling him. I was like, I can't go through this. I was like, I
I can't
cannot go
enjoy
through
my
this.
whole weekend.
No, with
Yeah.
this, so I think if you are thinking that you have ADHD,
Mm-hmm.
go find
It will help.
someone, and then
Yeah.
it's empowering because now you're like, okay, you don't want to put yourself in a box with a
Or like
label.
put a label. Yeah. But like having a label is also like
Could
good.
help.
It
Yeah.
doesn't have to, like, labels are good when it's not your entire identity, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
figure
exactly.
figure that out, and then you can understand yourself a bit better. And I like the thing I've learned a lot, especially this last year, is, I mean, every single aspect about our culture, our civilization, our societal expectations, it is
Western
all
world.
one anywhere in the world. It
Okay.
is
Okay.
all 100% made up.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
all pretend.
It's
We're
all
just playing
fabricated.
house on
We're,
a
we're
very huge
it's
level.
just
Yeah.
a game. And it's like, if I can understand myself a bit better and
Mm-hmm.
put that into context with the neurotypicals,
Mm-hmm.
losers,
Hmm.
then maybe I can just enjoy myself a bit better. I
Oh,
can I can
sorry.
just it's all good. Like I said, it's a totally transparent thing. But I like, I've been trying to convince, and I know one of our listeners, John K, is gonna
Yeah.
have a fucking field day with this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to convince my therapist to get me referred to get checked for autism,
Oh,
because
Okay.
there's a small part of me that thinks like I have
there's an overlap with a lot of the those
and
two.
that's probably what it
I
could
think,
just be.
yeah.
Like,
which is confusing because some people are like, "Am I autistic?" And then, say you were to get a diagnosis, often people, I don't say often, but like, say a large group of people, they're like, "Oh, I'm ADHD," and then I
they
could
call it
fall into autism.
ADHD.
ADHD, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
ADHD?
yeah,
yeah.
What?
AUD. I think it's just like a fun nickname for it. But
yes,
I
Okay.
mean,
yeah. I
I
don't think
got
that's the technical term.
I got so many friends with children with autism, and I told them, I was like, I kind of want to get checked out. I think I got low test. I think
Low
I got I
test,
think I think
low
I'm on the
test.
far left. But so many times Cassie she'll ask the kids a question, and I'm not aware that she's talking to them, and I'll answer the question,
Okay,
or I will complete like
she's like,
subtext.
"Mhm,
Subtext is so fucking hard for me in
okay,
conversation sometimes.
okay,
People will be having a conversation, and I'm either 100% aware of what's going on,
yeah,
or 100% I have zero fucking idea what they're talking about.
okay."
And so they'll ask me a question, and I'll be like,
Don't know.
I have 7 different answers for you, and I
Okay,
need to know why we're having
depending
this
on the
conversation
subtext. Yeah,
in order to answer you properly. But anyway, that's a bit
that's
off
overwhelming.
topic.
But I feel
Go.
like, Sarah, you were getting at because you feel like you have ADHD something. There was a
Like I think it's like it's all this like go 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 and then
yes,
crash. Like just like how
Yeah.
yes.
you were saying how how you felt like tired
Hmm.
and you just went out shopping. Like this last weekend, I got back, so I was in Paris and then literally grinded all week, and I knew that I had so much to do and so much stuff. I'm also like I got hired, so I quit the sexual health nursing job, but I'm going back just to teach sex ed because they don't have anyone to do it. So I'm going back this week to do that with the kids.
Do you
Yeah.
have to
And
provide your own bananas for that?
my best friend, my best childhood friend,
Uh,
I ordered stuff when I worked there. So she has like my special box with all of
All
my
the goodies, she's hanging
all the
on to
goodies
for
in
you.
it.
yeah,
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
bananas don't
yeah.
last long in that box, though, do they?
No, no, no. Um, it was so embarrassing. So it was so embarrassing actually. It's like side note, funny story. So I ordered obviously, penises and vaginas to come in
Yeah,
to show the kids.
yeah.
And um so the package
I
came
can't
and it was
imagine
sitting
what
on my
this was.
desk.
Yeah, okay. Sorry.
Sitting
I
on my
can't
desk
imagine.
at work. And everyone's like, let's see what you got. And so all my coworkers like around me like videoing me opening up
Just
this box.
massive
And
fucking.
they sent me two uh like 4-liter jugs of massage oil with and everyone's
You're
like
like, wait, no, no, no,
I
no,
was like,
no. This
I
is
did
not the
not order
purpose.
this. Yes.
Yeah,
I
no,
was like, I
thank
did
you.
not order this. And they were like, this is from a medical company, right? I'm like, yes, it's from a medical company. And no, I did not order the massage oil. So I
Guys,
have massage oil at the clinic now.
it's
I think I have
available.
an RMT. I have an RMT who works at the clinic with me. So
Yeah,
Only
he
a
is
thank
thank.
God there's
now.
a
Yeah, you have somebody
cover for
to.
action here.
Yeah. Oh my God. But yeah, so anyways, just this like go, 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 like
Mm-hmm.
constantly. And then this crash the last weekend, I was in bed at 7 o'clock every night,
Yeah,
I
like
believe
it
it.
hits
sleeping.
you. Plus,
Yeah,
like, I mean, you got like your regular life. You got Andre, you
yeah.
got your kids, you got fucking bills, whatever. Like, it's
Oh my
The
God, the
laundry, the
bills.
cleaning, the
Uh,
making meals, the regular everyday normal stuff too, on top
yeah,
of all
it's
of
just
this.
such a
Yeah,
nightmare.
yeah.
it is. It really is a nightmare. But
Real, real
we're
clever
all
of you to
here.
order shit to
The
work
world.
though.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go back the next week. They're like, "Hey, we're missing a jug of this massage oil. Do you know anything about that?"
Yeah. Like
Oh
it was just
man.
like so embarrassing. I feel like nursing in general, like I don't know. Yeah, you either have to have like a really dark humor, or I don't think you'll make it if you don't. There's been I think back to when I worked like bedside nursing,
Hmm.
and the amount of like times I cried at work, or like you can't leave stuff at the door when you go home. Like you get
It's hard to
close with your
separate.
patients.
Yeah, yeah.
It's hard to separate. I'll never forget I when I first started, and there was a one of my patients, it was the first code, one of the first codes I worked on after graduating. And so I'm like 23 years old at this time, at this point,
So yeah.
and literally giving compressions to this poor man who had esophageal, essentially had like vessels that burst in his trach. And as I am like doing compressions on him, there's just like blood like coming, like pouring out of his mouth on like all over my scrubs. I didn't bring an extra set of scrubs, and I had to work until 11:30 that night. And I remember coming through the door. We lived in the queues over on the north side, and walking in, and like I threw up twice on the way home. He did, obviously he didn't make it. Threw up twice on the way home, and just like walked in the door, and Andre, like his face when he saw me, because I was like covered,
He
like
Yeah.
saw the
covered in blood,
trauma on you.
and like
Yeah.
was just like crying. And I immediately just like went in the bathroom, threw out my scrubs, and just cried. And I those are the things that I don't miss. Like
Yeah,
I
for
don't
Yeah.
real.
like I don't miss I feel like nurses are extremely underpaid, undervalued for what they do. And it's really, really nice now, like working somewhere where people are happy to see you. Like people want to come in and see you. And it just makes my life like a lot happier rather than
Mm-hmm.
like coming home every night, like wondering how my patient's doing or if I'm going to see them again, you
Yeah.
know?
That's a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah.
It's a lot. It's too much. And it takes, I feel like it takes a special kind of person. Like palliative care is one area that I would not work in. And
Can you just
like,
explain that for people who don't know what palliative care
so
is?
palliative care is essentially end of life care where you're working with clients who are kind of on their last legs.
Mm-hmm.
And at the small hospital that I was at here, it there's there's two palliative beds. You didn't have an option. So
Two
those patients,
palliative beds. That's
yeah,
not
isn't
a
that
lot. Oh my
crazy?
God.
No, crazy,
Two?
right? Just
Yeah.
two. And you didn't have an option like not to be their nurse. Like
Yeah.
you had to. And
Mm-hmm.
it's so tremendously like heartbreaking to watch the families. Like
Mm-hmm.
most of the time it's it's the patient's ready to go. Um
Yeah.
and then having those like difficult conversations. Like I remember when I was just casual at the hospital as of recently since I've been back from the UK, and
Mm-hmm.
um having to explain to families that like just because someone is, their pacemaker is like, making their heart beat doesn't mean that their quality of life is like improving.
Exists. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that like trying to have those like difficult conversations where then families are literally breaking down in front of you. um
I have like I received that like my dad passed away very like suddenly but like drawn out because he had a heart attack, was brought to the hospital, resuscitated and then kept on life support. And
oh
then
my
we had
gosh.
to make the decision that his like you're describing his quality of life did no longer exist. He would have been on a machine for the rest of his life, never talk again, never like there was no rehabilitating him because his brain had lost so much blood that like he was no longer a person, right? So
Yeah.
having received that conversation, knowing how difficult receiving that conversation is, watching and feeling empathic towards the doctor who had to have that conversation with me, I was like, she doesn't want to come in here and tell me this. Like, this is ruining her whole day having to
Yeah.
come in here and like realize like I'm imagining her in the room like having done the tests and being like he has no more brain function and all these things and then have like
And then having to have that the
share that with
conversation,
the
it's
family. Yeah.
heartbreaking.
Yeah. Like it's
Heartbreaking.
in the whole room. Like everybody in that room is feeling the same way in that moment. Everybody's like, this fucking sucks.
You say it's
This is
Yeah.
terrible.
a special
Yeah.
person. I remember listening to a podcast way back, the Tim Ferriss show. I'm sure
Yep.
Yes.
you've all heard of it. He had a guy on, BJ Miller. His name was MD, and
Okay.
he was a palliative care doctor, and
Yeah.
he, uh, well, it says here the man who studied 1,000 deaths to learn how to live.
Wow. Okay.
Um, and he felt like it was a privilege to help these people transition from.
It's honestly from you're the, like, I, it's
You're like the
so,
guide a little bit,
yeah.
no?
So literally, before patients' families would come, like we would prepare them. So I would go in the room, and not every nurse did this.
Okay.
Um, but
Only
I
the
would go in
really
the
good
room.
ones.
I would go in the room and I would wash them. I would brush their hair. I would brush their teeth. I would clean underneath their nails. I would clip their nails. Even though,
It's the
like
smallest amount
what
of
it's
dignity,
just
you know. I
like
love that.
exactly, just trying to give them that little extra like TLC and love. And uh, sometimes like families weren't even there. So you were with that patient holding their hand. Like the amount of
They were
hands that I've
holding.
held while people have just gone in front of my eyes is like astronomical. And you literally, you come home and like are expected to just like be
Yeah, normal.
normal again,
Normal,
Yeah,
like
like
if
normal
your
again,
kids are home, they're just like, "Mommy," and you're like,
back
not
to
now.
reality.
Yeah, fuck it's.
Yeah, yeah,
I
back
need
to
to
reality.
grieve. You have to grieve in a way. Like,
Yeah,
wow.
and on top of that, like, okay, so I know again, like dark humor stuff, but
Yes, yes.
um, so with that, specifically, I can think of, having a difficult conversations with like a family and trying to explain to them that, their family member is no longer going to be like functioning.
Mm-hmm.
So this one specific incident, so they called it. We went in, put the magnet on, and stopped his heart. But
Okay.
he was still set up to, it's called telemetry. So basically, it's like a portable monitor for someone's heart. So we can monitor them at the nursing station to see if there's anything going on. So he had one on, and we went, we went back up to the nursing station, and we were sitting there, and the doc that I was working with said, "Can you go take the telemetry like it shouldn't be on the patient anymore?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah." Went down, brought it back up. It's sitting on the desk. Batteries are not in it, and the monitor is still on. The monitor was still going,
Oh my
and
God.
all of us just looked at each other because weird stuff like this would happen all the time.
Yeah.
And I looked at the doc and I'm like, "What's going on up there?" Uh, he looked at the monitor. He's like, "Did you take it off?" I'm like, "It's right in front of you. Batteries are not in it." And he was like, "What?" I was like, "No."
What? How's this
I was
happening?
like,
Yeah.
"Yeah." He's like, I was like, "I'm not going down there," because it was the palliative room. I'm like, "I'm not
Yeah.
going down to check." And that we would literally play like rock paper scissors to see like
Kind of.
who was gonna go check. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
It's honestly like the spookiest thing. And with that patient specifically, the door shut on me. We were pushing him into the morgue, and it's a very small space. It's like a fridge.
Mm-hmm.
And I got trapped in there with him, and the door locks like when you walk in. So I got trapped in there with them, and
This
no
is like
one
a
can
horror
hear
movie
you.
moment.
No
Yeah.
one
No,
can hear you. Don't say
no
that.
one can hear you.
Ugh.
And like it's freezing in there. And thank God, like one of like my colleagues who was working realized probably what happened and came and let me out. But I feel like it was the
Jeez.
longest 10 minutes of my life. Like,
No shit. Brutal.
Yeah. 10
Do
yeah.
you?
minutes turns into 10 days. Oh my God.
I
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
I can resonate with the dark sense of humor thing when you're confronting your own morality on a regular
Yeah.
basis. It's
Okay.
just a you. It's not like you're numb to it, it desensitizes you to it, and it just becomes this fact of life.
Yeah.
Desensitized. Yeah, I could see
I've
that.
not had to confront that reality very often. For us, it's mostly, unfortunately, been suicides, at least through my career, or
Yeah.
accidental deaths.
Yeah.
You know, does did this help you appreciate things differently? Did it help change your outlook, or do you value the people you love in your life more because of this, or is it kind of just like a
I think
it
for a
is what it
while,
is?
maybe I was, because my mom's health is not really great, and but just kind of being angry. I was angry, I think,
Interesting.
or like angry in the sense, like I come home and like Andre, Andre was like,
Oh,
I like have a man cold, or something would
what a
happen, and I would,
bitch.
and I would just
You're
be
like, are
like,
you kidding me?
"Are you kidding
I
me?"
just, yeah. Oh my
Like
God, you have no
people
idea
are
the day I
literally,
had.
yeah. So
Yeah.
people are literally like dying, and you're complaining about the sniffle that you've had for a week. So
Yeah.
I think it made me like angry as I got older. I've been a nurse since 2013. So
Yeah.
as I got older, it just, I think it's like humbled me now.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
very grateful for those experiences. It's molded my personality, and it's made me like have a better appreciation for, to look at your clients or your patients as a family, like as a
Mm,
whole, versus just looking at the patients as a number, because they're not just a number. It's another
mm-hmm.
human. Even in my practice now, even in medical aesthetics, like I get to know my patients on a personal level. Like, I know their kids, I know what's going on in their lives, I know whether they're going through a divorce, or they just got married. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's so important.
You become a therapist a little bit, I bet.
I feel like
Yeah.
as a nurse, you're like a jack of all trades.
Yeah. Oh
You
my
do it all.
gosh. Mental
Yeah.
and personal health. Yeah. That's wild.
But yeah, no, it's been a wild ride.
No
Cool.
shit.
And
That's
you're just
crazy.
at you're now, I think, just at the beginning of this new chapter in your career, in your life.
I love quotes. I got one for
Um,
this too.
you have a nice quote for us,
Oh
Colin.
yeah.
And I feel like you were saying, everything you've done so far has like built you and made you who you are today. And so I'm curious, like, do you see this going in a specific direction?
Right now,
What
I'm just
what do
flying
you
by the seat of
want?
my
Yeah.
pants.
Okay. Okay. I love
Right
that
now, I'm
too.
just, flying by the seat of my pants. I actually had this conversation the other day where I'm like, what am I doing long term? Like,
Okay.
long term, like, what are my goals? And
Yes.
it's hard to try to think of like what could be better than like what I have right now. Like, it's still
Yes.
mind-boggling to me, like
You're still
how,
grasping the current. Yeah.
yeah, like how can things get better than this? Or,
Mm-hmm.
what can I do? I eventually would love to bring on, have some employees, but I'm afraid, that people are not going to care about what I do as much as I do.
Yes.
Interesting. Yeah, that's
Okay,
tough.
I can relate to this a lot. I feel like I've struggled with this a lot myself. And yeah, how do you trust, it's a trust thing, right? Like
Yeah,
you're like,
Well,
how do I trust that this person will do the job to a standard at least that you would be happy to provide
exactly.
as well? Yeah. Yeah.
because Sarah, I'm not sure you're aware, but Jenna has a flower business too.
Okay, that's so
It's not it,
cool.
yeah. I don't want to like down talk it or whatever, but yeah, I have.
But like like talking with your clients and creating
Yeah,
that atmosphere, that environment, the vibe,
the
uh
vibe,
Yeah,
yeah.
and then especially from like aesthetics, it's very very visual. You get
Mm-hmm.
a sense of what you're dealing with by seeing the results, and I feel like
Mm-hmm.
flowers is the same way. You have expectations of
What it will look like.
what
Yeah.
it should
yes.
look and feel like at the end, right? So I think, yeah, you're coming from a very informed point of view when it comes to that
It's
resonance.
hard to let it's hard it's hard to let people into your space
Yeah.
and and hope that they don't fuck it up.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I've had people come in, into my space since I opened it, like, even just renting,
Yeah.
and they want me to teach them everything that I know that I've had to pay and put time and effort and money, and it's like they
Thousands,
just
I wrote it down, thousands of dollars, tens of thousands
yeah,
potentially of dollars. Yeah. Oh my God.
and they just want you to just hand your everything that you work for to them on like a plate.
And they're like, well,
Um,
you just know this stuff, so you could just give it away. Yeah. That's not
yeah, and it's
fair.
just like absolutely not. And then, to think I've just had the worst luck, and I think a very poor judgment of character. The last 2 years I've been screwed over like quite a few times.
Mm-hmm.
Because I always like look at the best in people, and like I never walk into a relationship thinking that things are gonna go bad until they
Yeah.
do,
You're like,
obviously. So
I want
I want this to work,
this word. Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I think that's
Um,
normal for people. Yeah. Maybe it's a matter of like, do you think you have a better red flag meter now? Like, those are learning opportunities, unfortunately. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I think now I try not to, and this is gonna sound crazy. I try not to become close or like very friendly with the people who are in my space.
Okay.
So I'm there for work.
Professional.
I'm not there to like hold your hand or run your business for you or
Mm-hmm.
do any of those things. I'm a nice person. We can sit and we can chat on the
Yeah.
couch and like hang out during like between clients, but like
Mm-hmm.
when I leave, like I'm not having like extra because friendship and business, like honestly, like I've found in my experience, it just doesn't mix. Sometimes it doesn't
Healthy
mix.
boundaries.
Yes, like setting boundaries with people, like some people just don't respect those boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the times I've literally had to like I try to hire people on I had two people and one left because she moved military obviously, and then the
That
other
must be tricky.
the other person I had to fire because she was so rude
Oof.
to the other people in the building, and I'm just like
This is not my vibe.
this
Yeah.
is I don't want to do this. I just want to
Yeah.
come to work,
Yeah. Yeah.
do
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
job, like have fun, have a laugh. I don't want to deal with like that bullshit. I don't want to
Yeah.
deal with like other people's like feelings or meanness or not being able to get along or
Can we be
like
grown ups? Yeah.
yeah, like
Yeah.
I don't want to go to work to parent people.
As
Mm-hmm.
busy and as hectic and as crazy as it is to be a business owner, that's a huge fucking perk.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love that.
Did you? Sorry,
Winston,
you found your quote. Yes.
yeah, Winston Churchill,
Oh, I love him.
during World War
Me
II,
too.
he said, "It's the, you know, I love the idea where you're at right now, like basically scaling, right? Scaling up or down. I think there's two ways. You get more employees, so you get more clients, and you generate that way. I think another cool way too is you just like deep dive and you become so good that you're charging a higher price point and
Yeah.
you're just attracting a different clientele. Um,
I was gonna throw in option number three, and like you could become an educator. You have so
ooh,
much
yes,
knowledge.
a master
That could,
class
yeah, that could become
That would be really cool.
a lane.
That
Yeah.
would be really cool.
because
Yeah.
you could yeah like
There's
as
so
part
many opportunities.
yeah the
There
space
really
is
is.
it's
Yeah.
you're limited to your imagination. But basically, what Winston Churchill said is it's this isn't the end. This isn't even the beginning of the end, but it is perhaps the end of the beginning, which I think is really cool because
Mm.
That
you're
is
like
cool.
Yeah.
you're
That
there.
is where you're at, I think. The end of the
Yeah.
Yeah.
beginning. Yeah.
Now you get to survey the landscape and decide which direction you're going to go, what you want to do. Chill out for a bit, just you know, put in some roots and really get comfortable with it. I don't know if any of these words make any kind of sense, but I think it's
Yes.
I think you're in a really cool spot right now. Like the world is your oyster. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know who said
Yeah.
that, but
No, I love I just love the freedom that I have now in comparison to feeling strapped.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it's a nice feeling. It's a nice feeling, and it's cool to get to do like things like this and speak with you guys, and have these like really great opportunities that come up, and just take advantage of them, and
Yeah.
you know continue to say yes, but with things I actually want to do.
On your terms.
Say
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah,
but then also say no too.
yeah.
Yeah. Both can
So
be true. Yeah.
where can people find you?
Yes.
So you can find me on socials. My and it's not Cry Aesthetics. It's Cyr Aesthetics.
Okay.
CYR.
Your last name. Yes.
Yeah. On Facebook. It's the same across the board.
Okay.
Cyr dot aesthetics.
Okay.
Come
And so
over, join me, have a laugh.
TikTok, Insta,
TikTok's personal.
personal.
yeah,
But
Okay.
you can,
TikTok.
yeah.
Don't look
So
for
the
her on
last one I
TikTok.
saw of yours, Sarah, on TikTok was about pubes, which was fucking
Yes.
hilarious. So yeah, it's very, very personal.
Can I add you on TikTok?
Yes. So
Okay.
like
Okay.
my TikTok, you like it is a personal one, has nothing to do with my business.
Yeah.
I think it's Sara Cyr.
Okay. Okay.
Sarry. I'm pretty
Okay.
sure that's what it is.
Cool.
Um, but yeah, no.
What
Very fun.
and so just so people are clear, you do injections. What is
Injections.
Yes.
health
What is
aesthetics?
that
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
what injection
so
specifically?
We
There's
should have
different
really hit
kinds.
that first, but
Yeah.
we
here we
we
are.
should here. Medical aesthetics. It's a controlled act. Only specific healthcare providers can do. So I do neurotoxin injectables, which would be like Botox is basically like the general word that everyone knows.
Mhm.
But I also do dermal fillers,
Mhm.
and I do fat dissolving injections, which is like really cool.
Get
There's
me some of
new,
that.
I was
yeah,
gonna
there's some.
say I need, yeah, I need those, I think, yeah.
The big,
There's
big needle, please.
yeah. There's kind of new technology coming. I guess not. It's not new. It's been around for about 10 years, but getting a little bit more traction in
Like
the
new
industry
to the
now.
market, kind of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not new to the market. Just like
Yeah.
people are wanting more. I think medical aesthetics is moving away from like overfilled faces where people are unrecognizable to like
Like
people
Stifler's
want.
mom.
Yeah, like people just want like to know like natural looking enhancements.
Yeah.
When you walk in a room, you want people to like notice something different about you, but not be able to point out what's
Yeah.
different.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's where my focus is. Like, I don't believe in changing the way someone looks.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't, I personally don't roll with it. If there's a specific injection technique that a patient comes in and asks me for, and I know that it's gonna like the filler's gonna migrate. They're gonna look like Homer Simpson. It's not my cup of tea. I will tell them no. Like
This is part of
your
your authenticity.
yeah,
Yes.
your face is my business card.
Yeah.
So you're
So
like accenting or accentuating their natural
they're natural beauty.
beauty.
So and the way like if you really think about like what we use fillers for, like fillers are there to replace volume loss. So
Mm-hmm.
depending on like what type, I mean, you get your clients coming in, like lips are a very hot thing that I do all the time. I inject
They're
lips
in.
every
Yeah.
week. They're
They're
in.
in. Yep.
Um, but when you're thinking about like the face as a whole, as we age, we have bone reabsorption. So and then our fat pads start to slide essentially off of our face.
Mm-hmm.
So when we are putting in filler, what I'm essentially doing is I am mimicking your bone structure. So I'm going
Okay.
on your bone to add basically that bone structure back so your tissue
So,
has something to hang on to again.
That sounds
okay.
really fucking painful.
That sounds very precise.
Putting
Yeah.
that out there.
So so if so it's funny because lips, honestly, I tell my clients this all the time. If you can do lips, you can do anything. Lips are the most painful procedure. I have
Oh.
filler. I have filler in my lips. I have it in my chin. I have it in my cheeks. I have it in my temples. You wouldn't be able to tell, but I've tried everything only because I don't believe in putting something in someone
No,
or
yeah,
doing a
no.
treatment if I don't know how it
Mm-hmm.
feels. And I will be 100% honest, lips suck. They are the
Okay.
worst.
It's like
Every
getting a
other,
tattoo from someone who doesn't have tattoos.
Right.
yeah. And that
Yeah.
honestly, a lot of my clients come in, they're like, oh, well, I have like 50 tattoos. Like, I'm sure this will be fine. And then like they
You're like,
realize it's
depends on the
nothing like a
location.
tattoo.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's nothing like a tattoo, but
Mm.
there's new products coming out. They're called biostimulators essentially, and it's an injectable that you are, basically washing the first layer of fat with in your face, and it causes your own body to create collagen.
Ooh.
Yeah, so
Interesting. Super
yeah, it's so
science. Yeah.
cool.
So the
It's
nerd
so
in you
cool.
is like into this. Yeah.
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 So I did the training, and I don't believe in putting something on your menu list until you get like comfortable and get a few clients in that are like
Mm-hmm.
essentially willing to let you
Yeah.
practice on them.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Because even with this product, like this product is great that it's out. However, it's not dissolvable. So fillers are dissolvable. We can get rid of
Okay.
them. This product's not, so it's kind of scary. In the sense
From
that's why
that
I haven't put it
perspective.
in my
Yeah.
because you can run into some severe problems. Like if we occlude one of your arteries and essentially stop the blood supply uh, to your face, it can
Mm-hmm.
cut off that oxygen to the tissue, and then you get necrotic tissue, and then the tissue death. It can result in someone going to plastics.
Okay.
So I think when people, that's what going back to when we first started talking, I'm not a hairdresser. I don't do your nails. Like this is like a risk to one of the procedures that I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing. So when you come
It's
in
a
for a
procedure.
treatment,
Yeah.
yeah, treat it like it's a medical appointment. You have to treat it that way.
Yeah.
I also
Yeah.
do like talks for like Botox treatments. It's not just for cosmetic purposes. Like
Yeah.
I help people with hyperhidrosis, so excessive like sweating.
Mm-hmm.
I do a lot of treatments for TMJ pain or migraines. Um,
I've heard, I've, I've seen a lot of that on TikTok specifically, where people are like, I had this done and my migraines are gone. I was like, whoa, I never even considered that. But yeah, like,
it's
yeah.
actually like it's so cool to be able to like also continue to help people because I feel especially with the boomer generation, like even my parents, like I remember my dad saying to me,
we
like,
we harp on
don't
them
you
all the
want to
time.
be don't you still want to be like a real nurse? I'm like, Dad, I am still a real
Fucking
nurse. What are you
a real
talking
nurse. Yeah,
about?
yeah, yeah.
Like I'm still
You're
putting,
like a ninja nurse now. That's the
yeah,
difference. You're like in a
it's
specific lane and you're doing very tactful, precise things. Like it's, I wouldn't liken it to surgery because I'm sure surgeons would like up in arms. Oh, it's
yeah,
not surgery, but like you're leaning towards that. You know?
it's still, and
Yeah.
and I will say it, like surgeons and doctors are like a little bit ticked off that nurses are able to do this kind of stuff and
Doctors
have their
just
own
hate that
clinics.
Interesting.
nurses are so much better than them anyway.
Nurses,
Honestly,
yeah, nurses are getting, I don't want to say finally, but like the the nurses abilities I think are growing to
yes.
the extent that they deserve. Like
Yeah.
it's getting there. Like
Would
the
you say
fact
it's
that
the
nurses can,
abilities,
sorry.
or sorry, is it their abilities, or is it the just the recognition of what they already had and did, kind of thing? You know what I
I
mean?
wonder if it's
I don't know.
both.
Sorry.
Yeah, probably, to be
I
honest.
think
I'm not a nurse, so I like I don't want to speak on
I
it,
I
but
think I think honestly it's changing, and I truly think it's been due a lot to the pandemic. Like
okay.
prior to this, I think most patients or people didn't really know what nurses did, or like they have
And
no
yet
idea.
they
They just
do it
think
all.
they
Yeah.
just think that like, oh, this woman that comes in and like changes my dad in the morning, takes him to the bathroom. Like, you don't know, like in the background that like we're reading blood work, we are advocating for you, we are calling the doctors when we notice shit is going south, we
Mhm.
are taking your vital signs and updating physicians. And, you know, I know like we're there's standing orders that we're doing and we're following. But the amount of times that a patient would come in through Emerge and I would be able to rhyme off the blood work that they needed right away.
Mhm.
Um, we're reading your cardiac monitors. Like patients do not know what nurses actually do. And I think that after the pandemic, a lot of them realize, especially with nurses leaving the profession, like how vital and important nurses are to the healthcare system in general.
Oh, 1,000,000,000%. Yeah. Yeah.
I think of it like
Undervalued.
just to put it in army terms, because that's how my dumb brain works. But we have senior NCOs, so like the soldiers that have been serving for anywhere from like 10 to 15 years, six and more kind of thing. But they're the people that that everyone looks to solve problems because they've been doing it for so long that they just intuitively understand what the problem is and what the best solution is for that problem. And they're
Mhm.
also the voice of reason. So when some dumb fucking officer shows up and is like, we're going to do this, I've got ideas. Look at the size of my whiteboard. Then they can be like, appreciate the enthusiasm. You're dumb.
Mhm.
We should do it this way,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And I
Mhm.
think it's just, it's probably worse off in the nursing world though, because at least in the army, we're told to rely on these individuals. I'm not
Okay.
certain that medical school says, hey, you should really listen to the people who've been working here for decades before you start
Mm.
running your mouth because you got a fucking MD.
The
Honestly, I
etiquette
think
class.
what what like what are they, the Gen Z?
The
Um
ones right after us.
Below.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
right, right. Okay.
Below, for
They
sure.
are
Below.
they are they are wild. They are like, I honestly, like, it just blows my mind like working with them when I came back and I was in the hospital, because they are not afraid. They are It was like a breath of fresh air
I've
walking and
heard
working with
this.
these like
Yeah.
nurses. Like, I had one doc actually
Like take no
came
shit
in.
seems to be their motto
Yes.
a little bit.
So
Yeah.
this one doctor came in and the nurse called the doctor by his first name and he was like, I am,
I'm Dr.
please
Something.
call me doctor, whatever, in front of the patient. And she was like, I'm not going to say his name, but
Okay,
for all intents
Dick.
and purposes, I'll
Yeah.
say, yeah, I'll say Kenny. And she was like,
Kenny, perfect.
Kenny, Kenny, is that not your first name? And, and he was like, yes. And she's like, well, that is what I will call you. And I'm like,
I've
The
seen this.
balls.
Yeah,
Oh my
where's your
god.
audacity?
Yeah.
The I've seen so many TikToks or social media reels showing like different employees from different generations and how they behave in the
Yes.
workplace.
Oh my god, there's this. Yes,
And
okay.
the Gen Z one is just that. They're like, oh, they don't care. They don't care about anything. I
So
was
they
like,
don't care.
casual.
fuck,
Yeah.
like, I'm sorry, I'm late, whatever. And the millennials like,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, I'm late. Please don't fire me. Please don't fire
Don't
me.
fire me.
No,
Yeah.
I fucking love that. That's good energy. Cause fuck it. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Fuck it. Like my mouth
Nothing to
was
lose.
on the floor. Like my
Yeah.
mouth was on the floor. I was like, go. Like I have your
yeah.
back. Like
Mm-hmm.
I will have
Yes,
your back.
queen. Yeah, like fucking hit
Like
it.
I will have your back. Because it happens all the time. Like I find some physicians literally they will be humbled at some point during their career,
Mm-hmm.
because it's just they can't know everything. And then you work with some really great doctors actually who are like, I had one doctor say to me like, without nurses, like, you guys are my eyes and my ears.
Mm.
um and if you weren't here doing all of this, like, I wouldn't be able to do my job. So, but it's the
That is
politics,
probably like few and
Oh
far
yeah.
between, right? Like you probably one for every five, maybe one for every 10.
Well,
Who
and the sad
knows? Yeah.
reality
yeah.
too is it shows that they're not there for the right reasons. I think,
Mm.
I believe as an officer in the army that I don't work for the people above me. They give me the orders and I do that, but I do my job for the people that are below me. I serve them.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you're in the healthcare industry, you should be there for the fucking patients. Cassie works long-term care and I
Yeah,
feel like they get zero like residents
it
at
is a
long-term
shit
care home.
show.
They don't fucking get any kind of fucking anything because they're not like they're not patients in a hospital. They're not an immediate danger, but
Mm-hmm.
people think just because they're I don't know whatever.
People do
Why?
think just because they're in a nursing home that their like life is for some reason of less value, or that they don't,
Yeah, like
like, and it's wild to me. It is absolutely, and it's atrocious, specifically in the private sector. Like we're really getting into this like political craziness with like private healthcare. And honestly, like I've worked at private care homes, and the difference between a private and then a publicly funded long-term care home is wild. Um, they get away with doing so little.
I don't think
Oh.
any fucking anything in the medical industry, like I go by Miramichi in Pembroke or
Yeah,
Marion Hill, they have
yeah.
a big fucking banner says like whatever 2000 whatever best business accreditation and stuff like that. I'm like that should be the last
I
thing
don't
you're
want to see
advertising.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't want
I
to
don't.
see that
I'm
on my long-term
assuming
care
that you're
home.
good at running your
Best
business.
business? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
tell me how
exactly.
your fucking residents feel. Tell me how the families of your residents feel,
Yeah.
and then I'll be more
Honestly.
interested.
And because I'm a part of those I'm still a part of the Petawawa like military spouse groups and stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
the yard sale groups and whatever.
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
love to get on them just because like I love reading
The
Yeah.
everything
tea.
that people post.
The
And
tea. Yeah.
there's a lot of where I'm like, what is happening right now with nursing homes, and like people posting like letters that they've received from nursing homes in the area for being like kicked out, and like just so like, yeah, kicked out with like
Insane.
family members still in the nursing home. And I'm like, what is like healthcare is just like so
I
wild.
feel awesome.
I'm really happy that I'm on like the other side of it now.
Yeah.
And
You're in a different space.
I'm in
Yeah.
a different space because on it's the politics. I love being a nurse. I love bedside nursing. It was the politics of it all that honestly,
Mm-hmm.
I
It drove you out.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I also think that people think that getting into this type of business, or like medical aesthetics or aesthetic medicine, is just going to be like this walk in the park. Anyone can kind of do it. It's not, and I am so grateful and thankful for my years of like experience, because I don't know if I would feel confident in my abilities to do what I do now on my own if I didn't do the work that I did previously. Because
Fair.
I've had people pass out. I've had people,
Yeah.
I have had a client have a seizure in front of me at the clinic. And if you are not prepared and able to like care for your patient in
Yep.
front of you if something goes wrong, or if you don't know their how to take a proper medical history, and you're not going over their medications, or their specific diagnoses that don't mix with filler, so like you
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
can't be injecting people if they have like X, Y, and Z. And
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of rogue people out there who will just take your money and go forward and do it. But I am not one of those people. And if I didn't have the experience, I think I probably wouldn't be a great injector, or I don't know, a safe or ethical
Mm-hmm.
person in
Yeah,
my
for
business.
sure. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm really happy that you
Thank
have
you.
that to fall back on because it's like fucking CrossFit. If you can go out and get a fucking certification in a week, doesn't mean you know how to do what you just learned,
True.
right? So
Yeah.
I'm really happy that you're such a powerful ambassador for a business owners, entrepreneurs, but also just doing things the right way because there's a right way to do things, and I
Mm-hmm.
think like you
There
just said, there's a lot of
certainly is a wrong way to do things, and I feel
yeah,
like you're not there. Yeah.
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 I hope
You're
that the
on the right path. Yeah.
I hope the industry auto corrects that kind of stuff because then these uh, medical directors, is that what you call them?
Yeah.
They start realizing or see what's happening and prevent this stuff because they're essentially
they're going to be
It's the
signing,
only way you
and
can get the resources, right?
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and that's the thing too. Like you have to be very cautious about who you bring on as your medical director because your medical director could be just as shady,
Yeah, that's a good
and
point.
not be doing things. And it's kind of like the wild, wild west, like out here. Like nursing is regulated,
Mm-hmm.
but the industry is not regulated.
Okay.
So a lot of the times when we're injecting things, we're using these products off label.
Okay.
So you run the risk, right? That
Yeah.
you're using this product that's off label,
Yeah.
and not listed as that use. So if you're not thinking about it smartly, like I have articles because I'm a nerd and I read on stuff and I keep it.
You're
So
like,
like if
I
something
want to be
happened,
educated. Yeah.
yeah, if something happened, like God forbid, I go over consents really well, make sure that they're like well informed before I'm putting any needles in anybody's face. But then also if for, gosh, I hope it never happens, but if I ever got taken to court for whatever reason, that I have my 5 million articles to back up why I used the medication the way I did off label.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Um, but the
I
the
think that's
industry in
savvy
general is scary.
business people
Yeah.
sort of thing is to like you have to arm yourself with this kind of information so that because there are as much as there are probably shady providers there may also be shady clients out there
Yes.
and you I think speaking authentically are going to attract an authentic client but in the off chance because like everybody I mean I've done weddings I've run into only one bridezilla I'll say over the years so I feel lucky but that being said like they exist
Yeah.
They
and
do exist. They
you're going to cross
do.
paths with people all the time everywhere so you might run the risk of running into them yeah
Yeah, no, and honestly, when you can kind of tell who those patients are when they come and they sit in your chair. They're the ones that talk poorly about their previous injector.
Yeah.
They're the ones that come
upset
in
victim
complaining. Yeah.
yeah
And most of the time when someone comes in, like I'm not here in business to talk about another business or
No.
another
yeah
injector or
yeah
talk, and I tell that to the clients. And then I have the option. This is the best part about what I do. I have the option to decide not to treat you.
there you go
So if you come in and if you are saying X, Y, and Z, and like I don't think that you're going to be a good fit, like I will direct you to go elsewhere.
mm-hmm,
Yeah, yeah.
mm-hmm.
You were about to say I will direct you to fuck off. Oh man, that's so good.
but she's a savvy business person she
Yeah,
didn't want
yeah.
to
So
say
she's not
that
gonna. I will be the Luther, the anger translator. Um,
Yeah.
Sarah, this
all
has
right
been an
yes
absolute blast. I want to thank you so much for gracing us with your presence.
yes
This
agreed
has been
I
so fun, guys. Thanks for having
thanks
me.
is there
thank you
last thoughts? Anything you want the listeners to know about you, about your business, about the industry, anything,
I just
life?
think as like last remarks is um believe in yourself, um and don't be afraid to take risks. We all are just like little tiny ants on a rock floating in fucking space.
Yeah,
yeah
for
So
real.
it's not that serious
It's
yeah
not
life
that
is not
bad.
that serious. Like
yeah
just take the risk and enjoy life because we only have one.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I love that. Thank
Thank you so
you.
much, Sarah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks so much.
Enjoy the rest of your day and everybody else, thank you for listening. And this has been wonderful. Yeah. Toodles. Hooray.
We're done.
We have
Okay.
stopped recording. Okay.
Okay.
Fuck
All right,
me.
guys.